The Yeti XL is powered by a Castle Creations 2200 kV 4-pole Vanguard XL brushless motor, and it's equipped with the industry's first 8th scale solid rear axle with an independent front suspension or IFS chassis system. Everything's kept under control by a massive 20mm aluminum shock bodies that house big bore 16mm pistons on beefy 4mm shock shafts, which help maintain high speed stability when running through a wide variety of terrain. The solid rear axle is constructed from high-strength composite material which has a low flex rate but is not as brittle as standard glass-filled nylon. An added reinforced axle truss strengthens the rear axle by reducing flex and by distributing the force of potentially damaging impacts. The combination of the axles and a true 4-link suspension gives you optimal performance for any terrain with the look of a real 1-to-1 scale vehicle. Maintenance is really easy. You just simply remove 4 screws to access the rear differential. The Yeti is equipped with an independent front suspension, as I mentioned before, to help maintain high-speed stability when running through a diverse range of terrain. Every rock the Yeti XL will encounter is individual. They come in random sizes and are scattered throughout the course, making the terrain varied from one side of the vehicle to the other. The IFS system allows you to better control the intended direction of travel at high speeds when one side is adjusting to overcome road obstructions. This stability that the IFS front end provides is paramount when rock bashing. So what's needed to complete it? The Yeti does come ready to run, but you need to provide two 2S or two 3S LiPos to go for the full power experience. I prefer to go with the two 2S LiPos, as the two 3S LiPos overpowers the vehicle quite a bit. Now the vehicle that I ran is completely stock. Until I started getting into speed runs. At that point I added a sway bar to help keep some of the insane power under control. I ran mostly 4S, which was two 2S LiPos that are easily accessible by flipping the body up and installing one on each side of the vehicle for proper balance. Now running on 6S is quite a handful. But even when running on 4S, I did install a sway bar. That sway bar helps keep some of the chassis torque down. Whenever you gun it, the passenger side right wheel pops up off the ground, the front wheel. And you can kind of see twisting going on in the frame and in the chassis. So when I installed a hot racing sway bar, it really kept that under control. It's a huge difference when you install that sway bar. As far as turning, the XL, it really sucks turning. The steering system seems to run out of steam by the apex of the turn, resulting in it going really wide in corner exit. I don't know for sure if it was the servo, a weak servo saver, or both, but many times I have to hit reverse to get through a turn within a reasonable radius. This is something you're going to find yourself having to fix as well. I've seen a couple of different suggestions on different forums, so you're going to have to vet that out just like I am right now. As far as bumps and whoops, the XL might be the best non-fifth scale I've driven through bumps. Suspension dampening is well done out of the box, and the huge tires ignore bumps that would wreak havoc on smaller trucks. I found that you could absolutely pin it through rough terrain, and it would have caused every other truck on the market to get severely out of shape and flip, go sideways, whatever. But the XL seems to hold a line. On road, the big power made the XL a lot of fun on pavement, but the wide turning radius kept it from traction rolling. It made sharp corners difficult to navigate. On 6S, that solid rear axle had a tendency to get the vehicle bent out of shape, causing the front to lift off the ground pretty consistently. Stick to the 4S lipos. As far as the tires are licensed by Michelin. They are BF Goodrich Crawler TA KX tires. The Axial version of these are molded out of fairly soft compound, which gave them good grip on high bite on surfaces, but their big realistic lugs give them a lot of traction and loam. Overall, they worked great on a wide variety of surfaces, and they looked good. The size of the tires, much like the truck, is something that has to be seen in person to really get the full effect of how big they are. On grass, the XL pretty much ignores it. I mean, the power, the big tires, ample ground clearance made the XL an animal in the grass. I was tearing up soccer fields and baseball fields, cruising at top speed with no issues. Back to power, like most 8th scale systems, there's plenty of power here. There's a massive yank right off the bottom with plenty of punch in the mid-range that led up to a really strong top end. On 4S, it has all the power that you'll need except for the most of extreme applications. On 6S, it's pure insanity. It's almost uncontrollable. The radio is a standard Habaco radio. It's a solid unit with a decent range and ergonomics, but it's your basic radio. Nothing pretty about it. The XL does have awesome scale looks combined with the over-the-top bashing size and power. It's physically huge, nearly as big as an HPI 5B, yet it retains its scale and proportions. On the shelf, it looks awesome at your local track wherever you tend to run, your bash spot, whatever. It can pretty much eat up and spit out anything that anyone else shows up with. Everyone that sees it is impressed with it. It's almost hard to go back to driving anything smaller. Now, I'm a big fan of this lift-up cage. It does make it easy to get to everything on the chassis. It's a nice touch by Axial. There is no way to lock it in place. I've tried, lifting it and then holding it down, but it still tends to slam shut if you're working on anything or you jolt or shake the vehicle. So look out for some kind of DIY method of keeping that body up. There were scale details from bumper to bumper. Once again, typical of Axial, which is very impressive. I'm really impressed with the overall look and the overall scale of this vehicle. Axial is setting a really high standard here. If you're another manufacturer, you can't just put out some Joe Blow truck anymore. It has to perform and it has to look authentic. a single speed, high speed, you are able to upgrade to a 2-speed transmission. So overall, this is a great vehicle. It's great for anyone thinking about going 1/5, but you want to try something a little bit cheaper. This vehicle is huge. It's awesome. It's a vehicle that everyone should have in their stable. If you're on the fence about getting a fifth scale to bash with, but you're worried about spending $1,000, you may want to wait until you see the Yeti in person. Pick it up, check it out. It'll be cheaper. You can afford to buy batteries and parts. And this thing is just a monster. It's really fun to drive, and it tends to hold up. So I really do like it. Okay, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Please also rate and subscribe. And again, if you have comments or questions, I tend to get back to you pretty quickly, so feel free to leave them below and expect an answer back.